There's something about trying to impress someone you like that makes you lose all sense of reason. I mean, why else would I find myself sitting here, spinning ridiculous tales just to keep her attention? Looking back now, it's almost laughable how far I was willing to go to make myself seem interesting, mysterious, or even remotely worthy of her time. But at the moment, it felt crucial. Every word out of my mouth carried the weight of desperation. Each lie a desperate attempt to bridge the gap between who I am and who I thought she wanted me to be. Tonight, I want to confess those absurd stories, the ones that made her smile, cringe, and eventually walk away. Because sometimes, the truth hurts more when it catches up to you.
It started innocently enough, with a simple question. Have you traveled much? And instead of admitting that my biggest adventure was a road trip to a neighboring state, I decided to reinvent myself as a globe-trotting explorer. Suddenly, I'd climbed Machu Picchu, surfed in Bali, and dined under the northern lights. Each story grew more elaborate, fueled by her genuine curiosity and admiration. At first, it felt exhilarating, like I was living vicariously through my own lies. But deep down, I knew I was treading dangerous waters. What happens when she asks for details? Or worse, invites me to plan our next trip together? Still, in that guy who'd seen the world? When she mentioned loving live music, I saw my chance to shine, or so I thought. Without missing a beat, I claimed to be an aspiring musician working on my debut album. Sure, I hadn't touched a guitar since high school, but who cares? Not me, apparently. I spent hours watching YouTube tutorials, practicing basic chords until my fingers bled. By the time she visited my studio, I had cobbled together a half-decent performance of some generic love song. She clapped enthusiastically, calling me talented and inspiring. For a brief moment, I believed it too. But as soon as she left, reality hit hard. The charade was unsustainable, and I couldn't shake the guilt of misleading her, even if it was for a good cause.
One day, while waiting in line for tickets, she casually asked if I'd ever been in a fight. Before I could stop myself, I launched into a tale straight out of an action movie. Apparently, I'd once taken down 3 guys, trying to steal my car using only karate moves I'd learned in secret training sessions. Naturally, she ate it up. At least at first. As I described dodging punches and delivering roundhouse kicks, her eyes sparkled with excitement. But then came the questions. Where did this happen? Why haven't you told me before? Panic set in as I realized I'd painted myself into a corner. Desperation kicked in, and I doubled down, adding even more outrageous details. It wasn't long before her skepticism showed, and I knew I'd blown it. Desperation has no limits, does it? When she suggested grabbing drinks at this upscale rooftop bar, I seized the opportunity to transform into a wealthy heir. I casually dropped references to yachts, private jets, and family estates, acting like this lifestyle was second nature. To my surprise, she seemed genuinely impressed, asking about my family business and marveling at my apparent success. For a fleeting moment, I basked in the glory of my fabricated empire, but the cracks began to show when she asked specific questions about investments and charities. My answers grew vaguer, my confidence wavered, and I could see the gout creeping into her eyes. Still, I pressed on, clinging to the illusion like a lifeline. Little did I know, the fall would be brutal. Food is supposed to bring people closer together, right? Wrong, at least in my case. When she complimented my taste in restaurants, I seized the chance to declare myself a culinary genius. According to me, I trained under Michelin-starred chefs and hosted exclusive dinner parties for celebrities. So naturally, I invited her over for a home-cooked meal. What she didn't know was that I'd spent the afternoon frantically Googling recipes and burning toast. By the time she arrived, the kitchen smelled like disaster, and my so-called signature dish was drowning in seasoning packets. She tried her best to hide her disappointment, but I could tell she was questioning everything. including whether I was actually capable of boiling water. Sports have always been a safe topic, until they aren't. During a casual conversation about football, I boldly claimed to have played college ball. In fact, I went so far as to describe game-winning touchdowns and locker room pep talks. At first, she seemed impressed, nodding along as I embellished every detail. But then came the fatal mistake. She asked which team I'd played for. Cornered, I blurted out the name of a random university, hoping she wouldn't notice. Spoiler alert, she did. As the night wore on, her enthusiasm waned, replaced by polite disinterest. I couldn't blame her. My lies were unraveling faster than I could spin them. The breaking point came sooner than expected. One innocent comment led to another, and suddenly, the web of lies I'd spun collapsed under its own weight. She confronted me, gently but firmly, pointing out inconsistencies and demanding honesty. I wanted to explain, to justify my actions, but there was no excuse for what I'd done. All those ridiculous stories, all the false personas, they weren't just harmless fun. They were insults to her intelligence and trust. Sitting on that park bench, I felt utterly defeated. The shame was overwhelming, and for the first time, I truly understood how damaging deception can be. Apologizing wasn't easy, not after everything I'd put her through, but I owed her the truth, no matter how painful it was to admit. Sitting in her living room, I confessed every lie, every exaggeration, every foolish attempt to impress her. I explained that my behavior stemmed from insecurity, not malice, that I feared she wouldn't like me unless I was extraordinary. To my relief, she listened without interrupting, her expression softening as I spoke. She admitted she'd suspected something was off, but chose to give me the benefit of the doubt. Her forgiveness didn't erase the damage, but it gave me hope, a chance to rebuild trust and prove that I'm better than the person I pretended to be. Healing isn't instantaneous. It's a process. Over the next few weeks, we met regularly, slowly rebuilding the foundation of our relationship. Conversations ranged from lighthearted reminiscing to difficult discussions about trust and authenticity. There were moments of discomfort, apologies repeated, and truths uncovered that neither of us had confronted before. But through it all, there was progress. I learned that relationships require effort, vulnerability, and mutual respect. Though scars remain, they serve as reminders of lessons learned and bridges rebuilt. Today, I feel lighter somehow. Free from the need to pretend, to conform, to chase validation at the expense of my soul. And maybe, just maybe, sharing this confession will inspire someone else to embrace who they truly are.